know where the bad girl shop at. Wanna know how the hell they cop that. Never known to the aftermath stop that. You ain't even notice how the shelves go spotless. Hottest models in the city, yeah, they proudest. Proudest moment in the city when they topless. Honest, they be feeling themselves whenever they topless. Shit, well, that cookbook to that best look. Go look book till they took in. And they look good, so they book well. And I speak well, so they on me, man. She dressed well, so they sweat her. And she feel like Hollywood. So they holler quick and she don't holler back. Goddamn, anybody good. She's a goddess, the baddest part. I'm honest and I'm modest. I be hooked up on her body. She be hooked up on my phonics. Whoa, she don't need no man. Brands gon' make her dance. Light feet on that catwalk, so them brands gon' make her panic. No, Twitter feed can't feed her. City streets did not breed her. Whispering in my ear, telling me she think I'm a keeper. I'm a keeper. Smiling from ear to ear. Models make the bottle worth it. Let's go make a cheer. Bounce. Your favorite trend, I'd have to say a birthday suit. Now what you really got planned, huh? Using you as a muse. Ring the alarm, don't hit no snooze. The whole city knows her too. I'm just infamous for movements, and she's infamous for moves. All my infamy is attitude, her infamy's in shoes. I be all in about that fashion, she be all about Charlotte Rules. I don't work out, I put work in. She work out, she love it. She work out, look good nude, and I see that when we fucking. Yo, them high heels and them board shorts, I just feel like she just drug me. She bad as fuck and they be mad as fuck, cause I'm on the host, she's ugly. Thrift stores, no strip malls, high fashion for the trends. Hair laid in her calf raise, she don't do this for no man. She got selfie with them auburn lips, the mirrors with her friends. If she's made in God's image, how is vanity a sin, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? It is another Wednesday night with yours truly. This is VividLife TV with Alex Auguste, y'all. And I would like to first, I'm not even going to apologize. I'm actually just going to straight up tell y'all that the journey home today, this afternoon, in Tampa was absolutely insane, bro. Like I feel like I've seen enough thunderstorms here in Tampa where it's just like, okay, like, you know, your Columbus Drive is gonna be flooded, your Kennedy Boulevards are gonna be flooded, your Bayshore Boulevard is gonna be flooded. But today, quite honestly, I have never actually this whole week and for most of the month of August, I have never seen Tampa flooding the way it has been flooding like I have. I think today was probably the worst day ever. It's just the craziest, man. And for those of y'all that know me, y'all know that my car kind of sits, you know, pretty low to the ground. And so I have to be very conscious of where I'm driving my vehicle and where I'm going and all those kind of things. So that just took all of the energy out of me. It took 2 hours to get home today. I left the office probably like 5:15, got home at 7 o'clock. I was expecting to get a little bit of stuff done, including feeding myself and things like that. But man, it's just been a crazy day. But nonetheless, y'all, we're here and we're live, yo. Getting these lives back on the go. You know what I'm saying? And really getting them going. I want to let you guys know that next week, September 11th, we will be doing a stream. I will be going live, and then thereafter, these streams will start being more on the more on a bi-weekly basis. So you will see me on September 11th, then September 25th. After September 25th, I believe it will be October 2nd. So we will do back-to-back again. And then after October 2nd, it'll be again bi-weekly to October 16th and then October 30th. So got some cool things coming up, man. In fact, let me actually make sure that I do share what the schedule looks like. Let me just do that really quick. Good stuff coming up, man. I actually don't know where this image is going to go. So, oh, snap. Oh, this is crazy. Cool stuff. But yeah, man. So our this is our lineup coming up for the next couple of weeks. My bad. I got really shocked. This whole platform has just been changing and it's been doing a lot of really, really dope stuff that I really, really love as it continues to expand. So as you can see here, y'all, next week, like I mentioned, September 11th, on September 18th, I will be hosting actually a session in my Discord channel called Content House, which is kind of just building out the concepts of Gas Flick Flame, bro. Really wanting to go in on Content House and Gas Flick Flame, both as two different concepts. For this one on September 18th, it's going to be a merger of two really, really dope concepts. And for that one, I'm actually going to be hosting a workshop on using InShot for your videos. So if you are not part of my Discord channel as of yet, man, definitely check that out. Definitely join us. Hop in, man. We've been having some cool interactions and engagements in there so far. Yesterday we did our topic Tuesday, had some chat going on about that. Really, really engaging group, man. And overall, man, it's kind of cool. I rock with the concept of Discord. I've talked about it a lot in terms of just being able to build your own community, getting your people in there, building out that support, and just keeping it rolling, man. So this is the schedule for the foreseeable future for VividLife TV, and you'll even see that it goes all the way out until the 1 year show, which is going to be taking place on December 11th. So it's going to be cool, man. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, I want y'all support. I look forward to y'all support as we continue moving forward with this, man. It's actually about to be a year. I think this time last year was when I started to really play with the idea of doing my own live stream, kind of getting a show going, and just kind of pushing forward with this. So it's really, really cool. And like I said, man, appreciate y'all support as we go forward on that. I don't know how to get rid of this image. There we go. But yeah, man. So for today, it's just, it's our normal Wednesday schedule, man. We got some topics. I actually really want to dive in on some of what we're going to be talking about, but I first have just a small creative update for y'all, man. Like, I wish I could play some real somber music, but for y'all that know, I have been creating content with a drone now for going on, I think, just got to drop this down a little bit. Sorry. I've been using a drone now within my content for upwards of almost 2 years. And it is with a deep heart that I have to report that I have lost my drone. My drone, whose code name is Tailspin. I actually code name all of my equipment just to kind of remember, things like that. And it's also for just different purposes. But my drone was named Tailspin. If you guys know where that's from, drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat if you know why a flying object would be named Tailspin. But yeah, man, I crashed my drone and that one hurt, bro. Like, I legitimately can't believe that happened. It's really, I'm laughing, but I'm actually really, really heartbroken because I planned on shooting 2 music videos this month, 2 videos in general this month. And was gonna get really, really like just crazy cinematic with the whole situation. And you guys know that I've been doing these garage workouts. I was actually working on some footage to create a video to tell a story of really something that I think is kind of interesting about the city of Tampa, man. As I think of even today with all of the flooding, this is a little bit of a sidebar. I'm gonna come back to Tailspin because this all works into the whole overall story. But y'all, obviously I'm from Miami. Miami has parks just like every other city does. But one thing that's kind of interesting about Miami parks and even Broward County parks is that you can go to a park that has a public track, right? And I think one of the things that really is different between Tampa and South Florida is the Friday night tykes, you know what I mean? The Pop Warners, the Pee Wee football. In my time here in Tampa, I've seen little spurts of it, right? I've seen little inklings of Pop Warner football being a thing, but I don't think Pop Warner up here is as big as it is in South Florida. I mean, you got like multiple parks. Like you got big time parks. You talk about a lot of the guys that are playing in the NFL in the last 10 years. You talk about Gwen Cherry, you talk about Scott Park. You talk about parks in the city, and those parks have football fields and tracks. Not so much in Tampa. And so, because you don't have a football field and a track, you don't have a Travis Powell kind of situation in Tampa. That means that you don't have stadiums. And if you don't have stadiums, that means you don't have places where people can go run, walk, or do stadium workouts. And so on Fridays, I started a small group. I didn't really start a small group. I started working out in the garages, right? In the parking garages. I found a nice 8-story parking garage. And I would do workouts in there, right? And the workouts are, running up and down the garage, running the stairs, doing circuit drills and stuff like that. And I started using my drone within that to just kind of document the whole situation. And then I started to think that with, Tampa having all of these run clubs starting to pop out, that it would be kind of cool to really talk about almost like a small documentary of sorts, to just talk about the idea that like the city is changing in its culture and what people want, but the city's not really changing what it's delivering to people, right? So we have this kind of push towards like more health-based, healthy and wellness-based lifestyles. But we don't even have a park that has a track and field or a stadium, right? Kind of interesting. And so that's kind of where this all kind of came together, where it was like, I started off as like, maybe I'll do it once every 2 weeks because the workouts are really, really hard. And I decided, a group decided to join me, and they were like, let's do this every week. I'm like, all right, cool. Like if I've got people to work out with, I don't mind doing it every week. And so I started documenting this whole thing with the drone, with my camera and everything like that. And that's where, unfortunately, y'all, I crashed the drone. And so I'm just gonna kind of show the footage of what that looks like. It's kind of heartbreaking, to be honest with y'all. Let me see if I can get this working with y'all. I'm noticing my feed is not the cleanest, so that's a little disappointing. But I'm hoping that this video can play clearly enough for you guys to see. So I'm gonna pause it. But yeah, I have flown this drone so many times, y'all, and I have flown it at the best of my abilities. I have flown it in the desert. I have flown it in the mountains. I've flown it in just some of the coolest places on the planet. A total of 111 flights around the world, yo. Europe, Florida, California, Seattle, just all kinds of places. I didn't think that I would have this kind of situation happen in Tampa, but you'll see what I'm referring to, man. So it starts pretty easy going, and you'll actually see that part of this video, the feed starts to cut out a little bit, and I'm gonna pause right there. Yeah, the feed starts to cut out a little bit, and it gets pretty bad. So right about there, well, right about here is when I knew that I wasn't going to be able to control it, because it was just going way too fast. It was on sport mode, and I'm guessing there was some form of interference or something like that, and lo and behold, this bad boy just kind of goes smack. I mean, I didn't think it was lined up that perfectly to go into that like that, but yeah, I'm without my drone. So, and this video is not really doing uh a good job at illustrating the story. So we're just gonna kind of go back to that. Maybe I'll take a little bit of a break and show it. But yeah, man. So that's gonna be a challenge to progress moving forward, especially on some of these new production pieces that I had. So what do y'all think? Should I inquire on getting it repaired, or do you think I should just buy a new one? That's the tough thing about equipment sometimes, is like it's really a case of like, do you get it fixed, or do you just get a new one? Because sometimes, especially with cameras, the cost of repair just isn't justified because the price point, between labor, parts, and things like that, and shipping even. Sometimes it just makes more sense to just buy a new one. And then the other part of that challenge too is that Congress just voted to ban the DJI drones in the US. So it's kind of crazy, man. It's like terrible timing. But also you always hope that you just have more time with a gadget or with a piece of equipment. And also, like, it's crazy that all of these bans keep happening for all of this equipment coming out of China. I get the sentiment. I understand the whole concept of, like, surveillance and things like that. Drones are used in war. So I've had my one small little hiccup with flying my drone in the wrong place, to understand that it is a serious, serious, serious deal. But damn, like, now being both without the drone, having to face the possibility of repairs, or even just replacing it in a time that I don't know if it really makes sense. It's kind of crazy, man. It's really crazy. Right now, I mean, the most obvious thing that I could probably do, and this is what I was thinking of, is just filing the report with DJI, and they have a way where you can send in the footage of you crashing. You can share your location of where the crash happened and everything like that, just so they verify that it actually crashed. But I just don't know if it's worth it. I don't even know what a price point for a drone repair could look like. And just for y'all knowledge, y'all, we're not talking about some wings and some propellers. If it was just the wings and the propellers on the drone that went down, I'd be cool. I'd be cool with, like, all right, yeah, yeah, you could just buy a new replacement, right? Buy a new propeller, buy a new wing, whatever. It's the gimbal. It is the gimbal. So gimbal breaks, that's stability control. That requires calibration, man. It's a whole thing. And so I'll keep y'all posted on where we land with the progress of repairing the drone. But yeah, what do you guys think? Should I replace it? Or should I just straight up repair it? Like, just drop the money to repair it. Tough stuff, man. I don't even know. I'll wait on y'all to chime in on that. Um, but yeah, just want to just kind of get back on the schedule in terms of all of these streams, y'all. If you have not had a chance to check out last week's stream of VividLife TV, where I did the read through of We Missed the Meeting, definitely check that out. That is definitely available. If you have not done so already, if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, if you have not, checked in and followed on Twitch and subscribed on Twitch as well, man, make sure you do so, so that you could see past streams like last week's stream, or like Cherie Graham's stream. Happy birthday to her, by the way. It is her birthday today. If or DJ Brightlight stream. And next week, I'm actually gonna have Just Cuz 305. We're still confirming the guest appearance on that side, but I'm gonna have Just Cuz 305 on the stream with me as my guest. So we are bringing back guest appearances, conversations, and the whole nine, man. So that's gonna be cool. Want to make sure y'all are locked in and have availability to that and have access to that. So check that out. Last week's stream, wine and a read through, really, really dope stuff. Talking about my book as well as reading through 40 pages of that as well. So, how are y'all, man? How is the evening going for y'all? Obviously, we have topics on the docket, like I talked about earlier. Yo, this today has just been absolutely insane. But there's just so much in the news right now that I actually wanted to avoid talking about. Right? There was a mass shooting today at a school. There's been another school shooting. I think it's like the first week of school, the first full week of school, and this is already happening, which is just crazy in itself. All kinds of drama. So I do want to avoid having those conversations because there's just not a lot that's developed in those. But also, a lot of the conversations are on drama outside of tragic news like that. which made me really think about like what is something that's like a productive conversation that we can have, that I can have and talk about on here that would make sense. And one of the things that I did actually want to talk about is you feel free to chime in with this, but there's this tweet that I saw, or I don't know what it's a tweet. I still say Twitter. But there was a tweet that I saw that talked about the push from liberal arts to like STEM that happened a couple years ago, like 10 years ago, where everyone was like, do STEM because, there's money in it, right? There's money involved and things like that. And the tweet was really focused more on the fact that like people today lack a lot of literacy, right? And literacy being the ability to read something, comprehend what it means, and then respond to it properly. One of the really good points that I saw in that whole thing about literacy was that the fact that people read something on social media that's not directed towards them is a really big sign of literacy. Like, it made a lot of sense. Like sometimes you read something that's like, oh yeah, short guys, this, right? And it's like, they didn't say Alex. So in my knowledge, I know that short guy statement doesn't apply to me because one, it literally doesn't apply to me. Like I read it, it doesn't. And two, it didn't say Alex. So I'm not gonna trip about it. But people who respond negatively to tweets, to statuses, to articles, to just pieces of written information, when they respond in a negative way, it's a sign of illiteracy because they don't understand satire, irony, farce, pun. There's just so many different elements of literature that they don't understand because they're not really like fully literate. And then it kind of got me thinking of just like being a creative, right? And it really made me kind of appreciate something that I talked about with someone last year at a past job, where I was like, I actually don't mind criticism. I remember back in the radio days of having, radio show and doing sets like, segments and things like that, like fail of the week and everything. People would talk about like their fear of me, like, oh, I don't want you to criticize my stuff. And now that I'm even older, I'm out of school, like we're in this space where we're just adults, just living in adult spaces. Hopefully you have an adult space. I would almost say that I appreciate all feedback. Like I appreciate good feedback, obviously. Positive feedback is very, very reinforcing. But also negative feedback is also reinforcing too. And I've never shied away from people negatively responding to anything that I do. Like if somebody came on here and was just like, yo, this fucking shit sucks, right? This thing got fucking X-Men Marvel shit in the background. It's fucking whatever they could say, right? I wouldn't really respond as negatively as y'all might think. Now I might change my back, like I might change my camera angle, right? There's elements of all of this that I'm open to. Like if somebody said, hey, I don't think you should have, the X-Men and the Marvel stuff on the side, maybe you should just have a blank wall behind you. I would take all of that feedback because feedback is necessary to what it is that we do. If you're putting information, if you're putting art, if you're putting anything out on the internet, you have to realize that the best outcome that you can have is somebody giving you feedback. If somebody likes it, that's cool too. But like a like is not feedback. It's not criticism. It's not critical feedback. It's not critical information that'll help your tweets get better. It's just a like. You know what I mean? It's just a reaction to that thing. And the reason why I say I'm like, thank God that I was an English major is because part of being an English major was that, like, and it helps you gain a very good position on receiving feedback, right? So part of the major of being, English creative writing major at USF was like, our class was set up where we were assigned like a writing, right? You know how some classes you're assigned to reading and you come back, whatever. I mean, essentially, in a way, you are assigned a reading. You're assigned readings of other people's assignment. And these assignments would be, 22 pages, right? They'd be 22 pages. They would be, my God, my feed looks terrible right now. Is that consistent with everything? Is that how YouTube is looking right now too? Let me just make sure. Sorry, I'm that. It's kind of distracting. So I just want to make sure. Oh yeah, it's pretty bad. What if I? Oh, it's oof. Okay. Wow. Yo, it's my feed is like not looking good right now. What can I do to fix this? But yeah, I'm gonna kind of just shut down a few things. Maybe this is really bad, actually. So yeah, you would get a writing assignment. You would go home and you would write upwards of 25 pages of a poem or a story, or you'd write a 5-page poem, or you would write whatever, and you would share it with the whole class. And then they would have the end of the class to kind of, collect your stuff, read it. And in the next class, you would sit in a circle. And how it was set up was you would sit in that circle and let everyone in the room critique your work. They were not allowed to call you by name. They could only refer to you as the author, right? And the first time you do it, it's nerve-wracking because you're just like, oh, they're gonna, man, I've never really had my piece like criticized. Like everyone kind of is always nervous of criticism the first time. And then eventually everyone starts criticizing your work, and they're referring to you exclusively as the author. I really believe that what the author was trying to say here was blah blah blah. So it creates this like objectivity, but also it makes it so that you have to receive the criticism and you can't respond until everyone has gone, right? They start off with what's the positives, first reaction, positives, what could use work, and then they end off with like a final note. So when it's your turn to finally speak after everyone's kind of dug into your shit, you could be like, hey, I think you're wrong. Hey, I love that feedback from you. Hey, I think you're a fucking dick. Go fuck a goat. Right? You could do whatever you wanted to. You could kind of take whatever angle. And as you get deeper and deeper into class, and as you get deeper and deeper into the program, you realize this really, really important piece of all of this stuff, which is two things. Number one, people can only meet what you do from the standpoint of where they're at. If someone has never read Black literature before, and this is like super important, if you can apply it to your own life or whatever, then you'll see where it's going. But if a person has never read Black literature before, or literature from a person of color, they can't really understand where you got to understand that they're meeting you at a place where your work as a 19-year-old sophomore at a university might be the first time they're reading any form of Black art, which sounds crazy, but you'd be surprised, right? And so coming from that standpoint of only having like that much experience with a certain form of art, they're going to come at you with a very limited viewpoint. Their feedback is welcomed, but I learned in the program, as I was like having interactions with some people like that, if I understand where this person's coming from when they're critiquing my work, I'm really not going to take it personally. Right? Like I'm not going to take it personal if you don't understand metaphors about Black spaces and Black people, whatever the case may be. I'm using Black, but I'm thinking about any other thing that you can think of. If a person's coming and meeting my work from a limited standpoint because they've never seen, heard, smelt, felt, or ever experienced something like that before, I'm gonna give their critique a lot of grace, but also I'm gonna like rank it lower because hey, you've never heard spoken word before, right? So when you were reading it, you didn't know how to read it. And because you've never heard it and you didn't know how to read it, you thought you were going to walk into, a Shakespearean, like a pantoum or something like that, right? You thought you were going to walk into like some form of a Shakespearean piece and then you got spoken word. All right, cool. Like, congrats. You just experienced your first form of Black literature or whatever the case may be. And it's the same thing, like, before I go into the same thing, like other things, but like that's really where it was at. Like, I used to have people in my class who used to act like they were Cisco and Ebert when it came to like critiquing people's work. And after a while, when you realize like they don't really know what they're reading, you get tougher skin and you get better knowledge of like, all right, I can only meet this person where they're at. And two, I shouldn't take their criticism that harshly because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And honestly, that's kind of how I've been since since then, bro. Like, I listen to people's feedback and I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay. And the first thing my brain analyzes is where does this person rank in the grand scheme of things? Oh, they don't rank really that high. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for the feedback, man. I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, yeah. For sure. Hey, stick around, man. I want you to see my next one. I don't have to get defensive about it. Somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I really like your stream," and they're someone who just watches streams all day. I'll take their consideration. What else streams do you watch? Oh, I watch DJ Brightlight. He be in the bottom corner of the screen and stuff. He uses green screen. You don't. I like his better. I'd be like, okay. DJ Brightlight tells me, "Hey, man, I think this is all right." I am the top dog, gives me feedback. I'm gonna be like, all right, for sure. Like, these are guys that do this. Random Joe Schmo just saw me on the home feed, doesn't watch streams, starts giving me feedback. What streams do you watch? I don't watch streams ever. This is my first one. Oh, okay. Cool. Stick around. Maybe it's not to say that I'm not gonna take the feedback. It's just I'm not going to let the feedback hurt my feelings. Now, if I don't even know who I can think of, but if there's just rankings to it, right? If I own a restaurant, no, that's not a good example. I'm not gonna find another example. I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that, right? Just being an English major just helped me really understand that, like, you gotta take people's criticisms from where they're at. And sometimes people are just not in a space where their criticism should mean that much. And I know that sounds kind of crazy to say. It kind of sounds maybe fucked up, but it's the truth, man. It's the truth. What do y'all think? Do y'all agree with my ranking inner brain algorithm of ranking people's criticism? I just remember, dude, I remember this one kid in our program who, number one, he used to really struggle with staying on like the author. So he would be like, yeah, 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 I think that Alex is, and they'd be like, the author. Yeah, that's right. I think that the author trying to do something, and you're just listening to the person, and you're like, yeah, and you're like, wow, that criticism sounded really like in depth, but they missed 98% of what this poem or this story was trying to take. And so maybe you reflect on, like, maybe I need to change how I'm portraying that information. Maybe I need to, consider that for a new reader of, whatever, then I should make it more. But then it's like, is my book for new readers? Is We Missed a Meeting for new readers? No. If you read We Missed the Meeting, you're like, I just don't understand the dialogue style, the way that characters are talking. Cool. You've never read a Black book before. Congratulations. Thank you for telling us. But my book was not meant to be your first Black experience in books. So I'm not going to change that. So it's just stuff like that. And the reason why I bring this up and it's relevant is because I think about that every time I think of criticism in general, right? When I criticize, I'm probably going to say criticize a lot, and I don't want to say criticize. But when I give my feedback or my opinion, when I just give my opinion about stuff, I don't expect anybody to take it as the gold standard. It's crazy enough, right? I just expect people to see it, right? I'm not a chef. I'm not a food critic. I'm not really much of anything. I eat food because it's good for me and it's giving me my sustenance, my nutrients. I'm not a foodie. I never claim to be a foodie. I don't travel the world looking for the best cuisine. I am not Anthony Bourdain. You know what I mean? I'm just Alex, and it might be three o'clock. It might be 11 o'clock on a Saturday, and I'm hungry, right? I go to your restaurant and I say, you know what? Honestly, I fucking hate that grits is everywhere. I don't like grits, right? I don't like grits. I think grits are trash, right? I think collard greens are also trash. I don't think they're good food, right? Again, I'm not a foodie. I've had some of it before. It's not good. Collard greens are super salty. They're kind of slimy. I would never put boiled pork in a bed full of leaves, right? So I just don't like it. Grits has a very odd consistency. It feels like someone chewed my food for me, spit it back into my plate, and said it's smoked and hickory, right? I don't like that. I just don't like it. I didn't say anything about your grandmother, right? I didn't diss your grandmother. I didn't diss your heritage. I just said I don't like grits, right? When I go to brunch, oh, what's something good to eat here? The fish and grits. I don't want that shit, right? Say something else, right? That should not be something that offends anyone, in my opinion. Like, I don't feel like me saying that should offend anyone. I don't feel like me saying any opinion based statement should offend anyone in that realm, because I am but a man. Like, legit, I am literally just a man. How do they say I'm just a girl? I'm just a man, bro. Like, I'm just a hungry guy. I'm not Keith Lee. I'm none of that, bro. Like, you asked me, I asked you, you gave me feedback, I gave you feedback back. Don't give me no grits for no Saturday morning. Why would I eat grits and drink a mimosa? That's just that doesn't sound appetizing to me. Um, and so it's the same thing with like it just, to me, it just applies that way. I think about life that way in everything, right? If I'm talking about Tampa and I say that Tampa's downtown is becoming lackluster, I am not an urban developer. I don't travel cities comparing downtown. I'm just a guy who drives down there, went out there. You're meeting my opinion where it's coming from and where I'm at, which is I've lived here for 16 years. I've seen downtown go from greatness. Well, actually, no, it wasn't great. I've seen it go from literally being shut down and dark at 5 p.m. to like having a good little spirit about itself, and then eventually kind of going back teetering, right? People just get so worked up about feedback. And I lean on what Kanye said one time, where it's just like, no feedback is the worst thing that you can have. It's the worst, bro. No feedback is just, if you're doubting yourself, it's honestly the worst, because all you hear is doubt, bro. All you hear is your own mental doubts. All you hear is, your own frustrations with whatever you have going on. At least a positive feedback every now and then would give you some reinforcement, some positive reinforcement. Even bad feedback would be like, okay, well, people have a reaction to this and maybe it's not favorable for them, but let me go find someone who is. And Or maybe like, let me gather enough of this feedback to see if it's consistent to where I change up, I don't know, my food menu. Maybe I shouldn't, involve grits because it's nasty and it's like chewed up food that somebody spit in your plate, right? And called hickory. Uh, that's just me. And every time I see like right now, the big thing that I've been experiencing a lot of is just like, Tampa's growing and I'm using all of this as kind of like a build up to say that like when people are giving their feedback about things that are happening in Tampa, I see people get so upset, so mad. Oh, you're tearing our community down. It's like, no, the fuck, I'm not. I'm not tearing the community down. I'm not. All I said was, damn, this place needs a fucking dress code. That's not tearing the community down, right? It's just saying that a dress code would be a nice way to elevate the experience, right? That's all I'm saying. It's nothing critical. Oh, where's the opinion coming from? Meet him where he's coming from. It's coming from a consumer who dressed up to come to your spot, right? It's just and I'm thinking about this because I thought about really airing out some opinions and feedback about the recent opening of the Fat Tuesday in Tampa, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't like say something. I shouldn't say anything negative about Fat Tuesday on Twitter. I don't know who's running it. I don't know, and I'm like, wow. I think about like I don't make opinions to bash and trash people. To me, it's feedback, it's opinions. This is the world we live in, right? Again, I always think that good or bad feedback, like there's a little bit of something to be taken away from stuff, even if it's a little harsh. And I just think of like the Norman Osborn Spider-Man reference, right? Of like him looking in the mirror and being like, coward. And it's like, yo, but we live in this world where everything seems so sensitive. And I don't think people are sensitive. I think they just have not really existed in spaces like an English major classroom where you sit there and like everyone critiques your work. And I feel like if people did have more of those experiences, we would live in a completely different world. You know what I'm saying? Like most times we put out garbage, myself included. Most times we put out garbage, we knew it was garbage. We had an inkling that it was garbage. We're just trying to pass it off as dope. I can think of my own videos where I'm just like, honestly, I'm just slapping this shit together. Like I really am. And if somebody were to be like, this video just looks very slapped together, I'd be like, I mean, yeah, they not wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of is a little slapped together. I actually just got feedback from someone, a creator that I worked with. It was a one-time project, and it was like some video work for some vegan food, right? Vegan chef. And after delivering the videos and giving it off and stuff like that, she sent a really long text message with some feedback. And the feedback was basically like, hey, this is great stuff, but honestly, some of the most critical shots that we needed, which was the close-ups of the food, didn't come out as I wanted them to. They didn't come out as good as I was hoping them to come out. And as a creative and as a person who works on multiple projects and stuff like that, I thought to myself, and the only real negative feedback that I had, or the negative reaction I had to that, was honestly kind of like stepping on my own foot a little bit, to just be like, damn, we didn't really set expectations on what this should look like. We didn't have a benchmark for, hey, what should this look like? How should this look like? I wanted to look really good. Yeah, I feel you. But like, what looks good? Show me what looks good, and show me specifics on what the exposure count should be. You got to get into the weeds sometimes, and I just didn't do that. So Yeah, we didn't meet her expectations, but the expectations had not been clear. And then I just was like, yeah, man, look, I'm gonna review these videos. I'm gonna look at it again and see, if I can tell what it was that maybe didn't go right. And if that's something that I can fix in the future, I would definitely make sure that I fix it again. But realistically, I didn't say this part, but realistically, it was done, right? So if it's damage, it's done. If the video ends up being used, hey, that's great. That was the intention. If it doesn't, then hey, we both learned like a new lesson where like the standard just has to be set. And sometimes I think as creatives, we just don't do that, right? Um, and going back to like the overall feedback about what's being said in town, I feel like it's the same way. Like there's no benchmark. No one's like if you want to get scientific about opinions, like this is how I would talk about it, right? But the reality is, and this is the feedback that a friend of mine, Tony, had said, which is like going back to Tampa, breaking it down, like let's break the walls of all this formal talking about opinions and stuff. Like this is just something that I've noticed as someone who's working, and every now and then you want to just like step out. Like I said last week, Fat Tuesday opened up, and by the week, a fight broke out. By the weekend, um, went out there this past weekend, and they were charging. And I don't think I've ever seen a Fat Tuesday charge cover. So that was kind of weird to me, right? And it was kind of bizarre, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense. I'm making this face because I'm just like, well, what? And so a lot of the opinion online was actually that they're probably not going to be open long, which again, going back to like receiving feedback, I will admit that if I were the franchise owner of this Fat Tuesday and I saw that feedback, I think I would feel kind of I feel a type of way. I don't want to say I'd be hurt because I don't think there's just some spaces that I feel like that you just don't have room to feel hurt. Like you don't have room to operate off of emotion. And I think if you are a restaurant owner, with everything that we know about restaurants, right? That X amount of restaurants close within their first year and everything like that. I would not operate from a space of being hurt. I would operate in the space of this is critical feedback from my audience. These people tried to come into my restaurant, my establishment, and were turned off to the idea of that because I was charging $20 to get into a bar that nationally never charges cover. Bro, I feel like that's just critical feedback, bro. You know what I'm saying? And this again, I just think that it would be, if I would be annoyed by the feedback if I saw that online, but I don't know if I would be hurt by it. And it just kind of goes back to this whole thing that like my friend Tony said, which is like Fat Tuesday aside, um, it is literally the best time to stay inside. Because bro, it's really not worth it. Like always use this story. Like if I had somebody from out of town come into Tampa and they were like, yo, I'm in the city, what's up? What's popping? Yo, show me a good time. That would be the hardest weekend of my life. Like if it was like, oh, I'm just here for one night. Yo, Friday night, I'm out, man. Let's step out, let's grab a drink, let's do something. Let's get into something. Hardest night of my life. Because I'd be like, I don't know where to take you. Especially once you factor in everyone has their interest. Like, God forbid someone's coming from a really poppin' city like in Atlanta, like Houston, Dallas, and take you in Tampa. Take you out. Oh, you want to go happy hour? So you want to come? You coming like 6? Ah, man. bro. You don't want to just kick it at the crib, grab a beer? Like, it's just between the cost of everything, and the I am old school. Like, I'm old school again, bro. Like, places not having a dress code to me is kind of crazy, and I feel like it's ruining the experience. And then just the overall, the music, the theme, the DJs. I'm very anti R&B, but at this point, I was gonna say by this point, I'm very anti R&B. Like, I'm cool with an R&B vibe, but please do not box the environment into just playing 90s R&B. We like, it's cool, but damn, yo, I really, I have to, as a former host of a 90s R&B event, I just think we have ran those 10 years into an absolute piece of asphalt, bro. Like, and so it's just we're limiting ourselves in all aspects of it, and outside, just it ain't worth it, y'all. It is not worth it. The bottles, the hookahs, the parking, the no dress code situation. You could be in a place dressed really nice and somebody walks by you in a wrestling outfit with slides on. Like, it's just like, what are we doing, right? And who is going to be the new innovators of creating something new? Someone asked me if I was going to be, and I would love to be. Like, I honestly would love to be the innovator, but also it is, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I would love to be. Like, honestly, I'm pretty sure I could do it. Like, and I know that sounds cocky as fuck, but it's not that hard. Like, it's really not that hard. I feel like we're going the hardest route of trying to make nightlife a thing and trying to make like a good time a thing. It doesn't require much. I could go on and on and on about what really killed the club. um I could legitimately go on and on, and if you guys have any feedback on what you think killed the club or what ruined the club, drop it in the chat. I'd be very, very interested to see what the top 3 reasons are. I could honestly say that it's just price gouging. um you had music in the 2000s talking about, we're popping bottles in the club when the VIP, when the VIP pop a bottle. Yeah, I'm all for that. But like, holy cow. Like, we have officially turned every and anything into a VIP section. And I knew it was bad in 2017 when literally the small tables at a coffee shop were becoming VIP sections for $300. Like, yeah, but now it's like it's getting out of hand. Like, we don't need that much VIP. Let people sit down. Let the ladies sit down. You ain't even listen. Women and children are the first people to get saved off the Titanic. There's no children in the club, so please let the ladies sit down. Like, the club would be a completely different environment, and it would be much better if you honestly allowed people, women, to sit down. I'm not saying don't tell guys to sit down, but I promise you, if you play the right bops, sis is gonna get up and, hey, put them hands up in the air like this, hey, and get up out of the chair. Like, that's the science to the club. It's the DJ. Bright Light knows what I'm talking about. So that's just one piece of it, man. But it's just, the club is dead. I was listening to, I think, 94.1 Orlando and the Freak Show this morning, and they were talking about that, like, all of the clubs in Tampa are shutting down. I don't know if that's the case in other cities. But I do know that for every club that probably shuts down in another city, they have something that's club adjacent. We don't really have that, right? We have bars and we have not bars. Like, the Addition is a hotel. It's going to shut down at some point. There's guests there sleeping. Amsoch is a restaurant. And I wouldn't club there. wouldn't even party there. 7th and Grove, you can call that a club. Flex, you can call that a club. It's gotten to the point now where it's just, what are you going outside for? Like, what is it out there that you're pursuing? And I feel like it kind of goes into this thing that I've said before, where I just on some observational stuff. There is this thing that's happening where, like, even when you look, it was like lower class, middle class, upper class. Now, like, oh, they're destroying the middle class, and so it's just going to be lower class and upper class. When you think of how people talk about everything now, it's polarized. It's one or the other. There's no in between, right? We used to have presidential debates that had the Democrat, the Republican, and a third party person. And now you don't. You don't have that. Jill Stein is not on anybody's podium right now. It's Kamala Harris and it's Donald Trump. It's Democrat and Republic. No one is talking about Green Party. No one's talking about third party. No one's talking about independent. When you're talking about experiences, it's literally just a low-end experience and luxury. You're talking about apartment buildings being built. It used to be like you had a middle tier of everything, and everything is now income-based housing and luxury apartments. No matter what it looks like, it's luxury, right? You either have a crossover or you have a gigantic Jeep Cherokee L Wagoneer that's like the size of 3 minivans and a house, basically like a mobile home, a whole ass mobile home. It's got 5 rows of seating. It can hold your whole family, all your cousins in that motherfucker just chilling and shit like that, right? There's just so much of shrinking the world to just 2 options. You got your Verizon, you got your AT&T. Ain't no Sprint, Metro's T-Mobile. There's no MCI. I was listening to Bugaboo the other day, and Beyonce's like, you make me call MCI to cut off the telephone. There's no MCI. There's no Singular Wireless. It is AT&T and Verizon. So much so that they don't even talk about each other in their commercials no more. They're just flat out like, where you going? And I feel like that's everything right now. Everything is being like stripped down to either it's like you're not dressing up at all or you're dressed for a wedding with a +1. Like, that's partying in today's era. There's no like middle ground of like, hey, listen, you're paying $10 to get in this place. This other place is like 15 and this place is 20. Everyone's just going to 20. Bro, your spot is not worth $20. Take my $5 and go. Remember when the club used to be $7, by the way? Really, really, really random piece of a number there. I used to give a 10 and get $3 back. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just, and I feel like that is really what's shaping how people's opinions are. People either call an album trash or it's a classic. No in between. There's no like, I like it for what it's worth. It's a good album. It's a great sophomore album, right? To Pimp a Butterfly. No one is just like, it's a good album. I can find a time to listen to that album. It's just like either you're like, no, To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic, best damn Kendrick album, or someone's just like, oh, poetry is being all spiritual and artistic. That shit is trash, right? We live in an era of just things being trash or classic, trash or icon, trash or GOAT, trash or whatever extreme people can think about, legendary, iconic, like all of these terms. What's in between trash and iconic? If Beyonce is iconic and Creation is trash, give me somebody in between there. You should be able to name a lot of people in between those two people. By the way, right? But that's just not how people operate now. So it's like everyone can give criticism, but no one can really break down their criticism, which goes back to my whole point that I started this whole thing with. Coming full circle back to the thesis statement. That's, my English major, which is like you only meet people where they're at with their opinion. Listen, the opinions that people tell me about the things that I like, I hardly ever defend it. I will ask you, damn, what? You don't like the Aliens franchise? What kind of movie do you like? Oh, okay, that's the kind of movie you like. Okay. Oh, you don't like horror movies? Okay, I can see that. What kind of movies do you like? Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. Oh, you don't like Marvel? Oh, what? Okay, all right. Oh, you didn't like the Eternals? Wow, why not? Oh, okay. Oh, you didn't like the Marvels? Why not? Why not? Oh, this nigga hates women. Okay, you know what I mean? Like it's that's just it, bro. Like it's literally that is where we're at right now. I say all of that as someone who one has been called overly opinionated, but as a person who's consuming your work, I think that's what you want, right? And as a person who creates work for the consumption of others, that's what I want. That's what I want. Like I would actually like really appreciate if somebody digested anything of mine and was just like, I don't like it. It would hurt maybe, but like we're not in this game. We don't do anything we do for the feels. Like, yeah, I'm an artist, I'm sensitive about my shit, but like I'm not I'm not here to like feel and be like, no, I like tell me what you feel about the work. Tell me what you feel about the perfectionist video. Tell me what you feel about the perfectionist as a whole. Tell me what you feel about, like, I remember I showed someone the little short horror video reel that I did that Justin challenged me to do back in May. And one of the people's reaction to it, I was actually kind of like, oh, wow. Oh, that's what you got from it? They were like, yeah. So like, what is it? Like they couldn't make the interview because they got killed. And I was like, wow, that's a very interesting take on it. I can tell that I didn't portray it correctly, because if that's what they got from it, maybe it wasn't as clear, of what the whole storyline was supposed to be, which again, going back to like, sometimes you create something that's not really your best work and you put it out, and you shouldn't really be surprised if it doesn't get like the greatest acclaim. Okay, this person got that from it. It was maybe the way that I portrayed the message. It's the messenger, not the person who received it, right? That's just it, man. I think about that sometimes, especially when it comes to me giving my feedback to things. Sometimes I do hate when people ask me for my opinion, because I'm like, I'm gonna give you like a full-on critique as someone who knows what you're doing. And I don't purposely try to be, the point of it all is not to be purposely harmful or say things that are mean. Quite frankly, I would never call someone who I know or someone who I understand what they're doing, I would never use the term trash. I actually don't really, y'all might call me out for this, but I feel like I'm confident enough to say I will say an experience is trash. Let me make sure I'm on record right now. Yeah, I will say that an experience is trash, but I don't think I would call someone's work trash. And I'm trying to think of movies. Um, I mean, I've said a person's acting was trash. So let me pump the brakes a little bit on that. I said acting is trash. I've said a story. Okay, so I've used trash. That's times to say I have used trash before. But I also do keep some in between words too, right? Um, Eternals. I don't think it's the greatest movie on earth, but I definitely can appreciate a Marvel movie that did not center the Avengers and started to show us a little bit of a glimpse into the Jack Kirby world of all of the Marvel. See all that? That's That's Stan Lee, right? We've seen a lot of Stan Lee in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have not had a chance to really dive into like the Jack Kirby work, like the Fantastic Four, Galactus, Silver Surfer. Like we saw Icarus, we saw Arrows. Like they were gonna make a storyline, and it's a little bit of a jump to another topic, but they were gonna make a storyline of Mentor. Do y'all know who Mentor is, bro? Like, that's Thanos' dad, bruh. Like, they were gonna go so deep into it, and I think it would have maybe made a little bit more sense, or it would have capped off like bringing in Thanos' family line and showing why he was like a mutation and he's purple and Eros is not. Does it matter? No. Would it have been the greatest storyline to do? Probably not, right? You already killed Thanos. It doesn't make sense to do that. But I think it would have been cool to introduce arrows. It would have introduced like so much more of the Celestials and maybe Infinity and the Living Tribunal. It would have just opened up like the whole thing to just so much more. And unfortunately, they've decided to scrap Eternals too, because y'all kept complaining and saying that it was trash. Because in the Marvel, I think the fandoms, Marvel, the Marvel movies, Star Wars, so many other like movie franchise, their fandoms are the perfect example of just shrinking things down to two. There's either a classic or it's absolute caca to them, which is so annoying because it's like, yo, sometimes you got to just enjoy the storyline for what it is. Just enjoy that we took you through a plot with a resolution, a climax, some character development, some cool action scenes. Like, just enjoy it, bro. Just enjoy it. The Marvels was not a bad movie. The Marvels was actually a really good movie. No one watched it because they hate women. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's I had to break that down the way I broke it down because part of me was really actually just thinking about how important it is to just be able to receive feedback. Like it is, I'm going to say this right now in 2024, I think that is the biggest and the most important soft skill you can have. I've never been afraid to receive feedback from a job. I've never been afraid to receive feedback from a manager, from a director, from a vice president. As much as I enjoy being praised, I equally am always ready to receive feedback or criticism as a whole. As much as I know that I am a great host and a great artist, I would never close my ears off to somebody saying like, yo, that the perfectionist is not your best work. Oh, I know. Trust me, I know. Like, I know. And it just becomes an invitation to stick around to see what's next, bro. Like, you really got to see this next shit I'm going to do. Oh, you closed XYZ. I had a tough call earlier this week. Like, hey man, no, I already know. Let me beat you to the punch, right? This is what happened, and this is why it happened, and I hope you understand why those decisions were made. Cool. And that's it, man. That's it. The greatest skill and soft skill you can have today is being able to receive feedback, whoever you are, whatever it is that you do. And I feel like a lot of people aren't, which is why we have so much beefs and conflicts and fallouts and people who say that they want to collaborate with people and then the collaboration happens and then they have a fallout, which is always unfortunate, but this is why, you got to be mindful of who you collaborate. My last thing that I'm going to say, my last thing that I'm going to say, I recently turned down someone who they were actually inquiring about another literary collaboration. And I've only done one literary collaboration, which is I Too Cry Purple Tears. I created the interview sessions that pulled in all the information, and then I took that information, I turned it into an outline, and then I spent months writing the story to make a memoir for someone else, right? And the story was close enough. It kind of hit home. It struck a nerve, and I also felt impassioned to do it. And it ended up working out. Got paid for it, and everything like that. And I love the fact that I did it. But it's kind of crazy to ask somebody. And this is not connected to I too cry purpose, but it's the second request that I got, because one of the important questions that I asked was kind of the question we ask on every survey is like, how'd you hear about me? Oh, I saw you promoting your book, da da blah blah blah. Okay. Did you read that book? And the response was no, but I can order it. And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I would love that, right? I would appreciate that. But why, if you saw me promoting my book and you've never read my work, what made you want to collaborate with me to write your story? Like, you have no feedback on my work. You don't know what I do. You don't know, you have nothing to cling to. So why would I take this project on? Like, you're not a fan of my work. Like, you just saw someone who has written a book, and you just think it's an accessible service to you. And the short answer is fuck no, bro. Like, I would not do that. I would not do that to myself. Like, I would not collaborate with someone on a literary project who's never read my work or is not familiar with it. That just doesn't make any sense. So that's another thing too, to just be mindful. Like, we're living in this world where even in my Discord, there's this, like, I talk about collaboration, but everybody in that Discord, I've seen their work. Like, I'm always a fan of people's work before I'm their collaborator. I have to have something to cling to and say, I really like that. I actually really enjoy that. Oh, that's really cool. Sandy, for example, my friend Queen Sandy, I had been following her for 3-4 months before, and I'm like, oh shit, like, she's sharp with her content creation. Like, yo, she's kind of dope. Oh, she knows somebody that I know. Hey, do you mind introducing me? Like, her work is really, really cool. And I would love to, like, collaborate with someone who's kind of already got a foot in the fashion and the beauty space. You mind? Yeah, all right, cool. I would not have just been like, hey, how you doing? Like, I'm not a fan. If I'm not a fan of your work, collaboration is the closest thing to, like, what was the phrase I used to say? Collaboration is the sincerest form of admiration. Like, you gotta admire someone to collaborate with them. If you didn't read my book, but you want me to write yours, you can't afford that, bro. Like, you can't afford that. Like, literally, it's an invaluable service. I wouldn't even do it. So yeah, man. That's kind of my point. That's my take. We are close to the 90-minute mark. And considering the day that I have had with Tampa's flooding and the traffic and everything like that, I can already see and feel the bag underneath my right eye getting a little heavy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to actually wrap up, yo. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I am just going to kind of kick it for a little bit and just hang out, man, and just unwind and decompress. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. You guys know the groove. You guys know the deal. Like I mentioned, next week, next week, live again on a Wednesday, 8 p.m., September 11th. We're gonna have Just Cause 305 on. I was gonna say something, and I maybe want to save it for next week. We're gonna have Just Cause 305 come through tomorrow in the Discord channel. I'm actually gonna be hosting a quick call, just an open call for casting for my next music video, which is gonna be Halloween themed. I'm kind of excited about that, which is going to be for a song called 62 Selfies. And really, really excited about it. I don't have the drone anymore, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I'm going to see if I can convince DJ Brightlight to be the drone pilot and the drone camera, get some aerial shots of Ybor City. But yeah, I'm going to be hosting that tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, y'all. And then, like usual, like every week, same old, same old. Join the Discord, Marvel World Worldwide. We are live in that. Tomorrow we're gonna be chatting it up every day. Really, we've been chatting it up and kind of keeping the conversations going. And then, of course, join me and subscribe on Patreon. That's where all of the behind the scenes stuff is being posted up at. And I really look forward to just kind of keeping that going as well. There's some behind the scenes posts on there for We Missed a Meeting and everything like that, and including A Boy Bathed in Blood. So again, subscribe, get into the nitty gritty and the behind the scenes and the bigger picture of what that piece of work really means and what it's about. For folks who are getting back into reading it as I get ready for this next release on September 19th. I think it's a good way for a refresher, but also to get some new information, some new bits to bite on in between the re-release of They Chose You, Mr. Ferguson, and the release of the sequel, Some Assembly Required. Don't have a date for that yet. I have one kind of in the works, but that's a big project. Probably the hardest thing I've ever written in my life. I think I've talked about why it's so hard. One part of that is that the name Some Assembly Required literally is how the story was written. It's a bunch of single individual chapters that are all slapped together to make one big story, and it's wild, right? The continuity, the character development, the voice, all that kind of stuff. Very, very hard. But yeah, no date on that yet. I'm just gonna give a little breathing room to that so that we can really give life to the series, kick things off, and then just keep it moving with promotion of that book, right? They Chose You, Mr. Ferguson. Really exciting stuff, and I hope to have you guys on board with that as we move forward, man. But like I said, I'm going to kind of turn it in and decompress for the rest of the night. I appreciate you guys for being on the stream with me. This is yours truly, Alex Auguste, with VividLife TV, streaming on